Good evening, guys. It's your boy Sly Geordie, and welcome back to another episode of F1 23 My Team Career Mode. Today is the Netherlands Grand Prix, the Dutch Grand Prix, and if you missed last episode, it was the Belgian Grand Prix, which was a really good race for us, a race that I really did practice a lot for, and we ended up getting a really nice 5th place. Other than that, though, our general pace seems to be really good in qualifying, down to the setup, I suppose. But we seem to fall behind a little bit in the races, as evidenced by pretty much all the races we've had, like the vast majority of races we've had this season, as we await our upgrades to come in. And obviously we're going to get another one here, purchase another one for aerodynamics. We do need to start catching up, and this is a minor one, but of course we already have a major one being worked on as we speak, which is really going to get us level with the rest of the grid. Obviously our durability and our chassis were the ones that took most of the hit, in terms of like just not starting off okay at all. Like they were probably the worst you could get. So we're basically playing catch up with those parts, which is good for most tracks, because that means like our aero's always been decent, like close enough to the competition. Our powertrain, I'm pretty sure, is even more powerful than Alpine's. And if you guys didn't know, we obviously share engines with Alpine. We're on the Renault engine. But yeah, as we go into the season break, things are looking good in terms of like the first half of the season. But now we begin our second part of the season for the Dutch Grand Prix, Zandvoort. One of my favourite tracks on F1 2020, although I haven't really driven it too much on this game, so I don't really know how it's going to be. I've driven it a little bit, it feels fine, but I don't know how it's going to feel in terms of our MyTeam car, because this car feels a lot different to pretty much all of our, like, any other car in the game. I don't know what it is, but yeah, we're going to want to upgrade more, and we want to get powertrain up and caught up with the rest. I do subtly check out some of the other stuff, but we're going to buy fabrication for the powertrain, simply because like we need it to catch up, and obviously this means we can develop multiple upgrades simultaneously. Now the powertrain is not something we need to really focus on right now, but it will really help us in the future. And as you can see here, we did get an upgrade that came in, meaning we're actually getting a lot closer to AlphaTauri now, which is what we want. AlphaTauri are who we need to beat in terms of like development. Otherwise, Théo Pourchaire isn't going to sign another contract, as we found out with Felipe Drugovich, unfortunately. Like, if you're still bottom of the R&D charts, even the F2 drivers won't stay with you, which is really unfortunate, to be quite honest, and something we really need to work on towards the end of the season, because I don't want to lose another driver. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into qualifying. I don't know how this is going to go. Of course, I've driven a few practice laps, but I haven't practiced nearly as much as I did for the Belgian Grand Prix, because I knew I was good around Spa, so I wanted to practice as much as possible. And yeah, with Zandvoort, I don't know. So I did a few practice laps, felt alright around it. So yeah, we are checking out some of our tyres here, of course. Pretty good. I think we're definitely going to try and save some soft tyres for the race, obviously. But yeah, without further ado, let's actually get out and do this lap. We're on a balanced setup, or whatever the default setup is. We're not doing any particular setup for Zandvoort. And without further ado, let's get into it. Our first lap around Zandvoort with the MyTeam car on the F1 23 game. Here we go. It begins. I'm looking forward to it. We've changed, we've subtly changed just one part of the car. We've removed the Michael Schumacher quote and added back the wavelength personal sticker. No particular reason, I just felt like it. So yeah, I felt it felt a little bit awkward having the Michael Schumacher quote on the car, if I'm being quite honest. We don't have any ties with Michael Schumacher at all. We've had it since the Monaco Grand Prix, so whatever. We've added the wavelength sticker back on into our first iteration of this car as we go round. Oh, and we hit the curb! Oh! And we hit the wall, and the tyre has completely come flying off, probably parts of the front wing as well, and we are out of Q1. That is the worst possible start we could have had ever. And honestly, that curb took me off guard. It's like that curb in Jeddah. It just doesn't let you go, you know? It doesn't let you steer off of it, and that pretty much is the end of our qualifying escapades. Probably the worst start to a race weekend we've ever had, which is just not good at all, and it leaves us with an outstanding recovery drive for the race.
To the North Sea coast and to the ZANDVOORT circuit. We're 25 miles away from Amsterdam for today's Dutch Grand Prix. It's a race the great Jim Clark won on 4 occasions, leading for an astonishing total of 370 laps. ZANDVOORT circuit has 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left, with plenty of steep camber and elevation changes to keep our drivers on their toes throughout the 2.6-mile lap. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Russell, Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Joe, Hulkenberg, Albon, Stroll, Tsunoda, Sargent, Théo Pourchaire, De Vries, the owner driver, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And a warm welcome to Natalie Pinkham, who's beside me in the commentary box today. They've been involved in a number of costly incidents lately. That's got to affect their mindset going into this race.
It's not an ideal situation by any means. When you get into a bad run like that, there's always the risk of frustration creeping in, which can cause more mistakes and locks you into this vicious cycle. Hopefully today they can get through turn 1 cleanly and stay calm for the rest of the race.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
So this is our strategy going into this. I think we might keep it, we might switch it. I don't quite know, but I'm thinking we'll want to get track position as quickly as possible. We're going to stay on the softs for the first stint because we need to be really aggressive, but I also want to spend more laps out there towards the end of the race, and I feel like we might even gain even more positions towards the hella end of the race, because when the medium tires run out, I feel, because ZANDVOORT is quite an aggressive track from the looks of it and the feel of it in terms of F1 2020 anyway, because I have to go off of that because, you know, of what happened in qualifying. So we're going to go with a very aggressive first 10 laps with the soft tyres, and then we're going to go on to the hard tyres to see if we can outlast the people who will be going on to the mediums. And it is a decent lineup on the grid, obviously not purple, but a pretty decent one anyway. We're not starting last, actually. Kevin Magnussen has taken a few penalties, and lights out and away we go. It's a pretty decent start for everyone. It seems they finally patched the AI poor race starts. But we do gain a couple of positions past Nick De Vries, past Logan Sargent. We're fighting with Yuki Tsunoda side by side now. Théo Pourchaire, our teammate, has had a really good start here. And I want to go around the outside here. We do kind of squeeze out our teammate a little bit right there, but he does manage to keep the position himself as well. So a pretty good start for our teammate, which is some really good signs, to be honest. Because, you know, it pretty much the same stats as Drugovich. Pourchaire's a little bit better than Drugovich in this game. For some reason, they just didn't update the F2 portion of the game at all. Like, it's the exact same as last year. So even though Drugovich is the champion, he's not the best F2 driver, which doesn't make any sense. But we did make a little bit of an upgrade with Pourchaire. Pourchaire is now a 75 overall in terms of stats. Wait, I don't know if that's this episode. It might be next episode. Either way, he's pretty close. Like, if he's not a 75 overall in this episode, he's 74 overall or 73. But we've had a decent first lap, going from 21st place to P16 as we now try and use some of the battery to catch up to Hulkenberg. And I've realised that our energy store is actually really bad compared to a lot of the other cars as I do more laps in time trials outside of the races. We dive onto the inside of Hulkenberg right there. We do manage to make the pass, and a familiar sight, a familiar foe is in front of us. Alexander Albon, more in the early goings of the season, he was a big rival now, as we do try to keep up with him. Of course, you need to remember that our car, R&D wise, is bottom, so we need to fight for all these positions as we can. And honestly, this race will show where the general pace of the car is at, as we now dive on the inside of Alexander Albon right there. Of course, the Williams is going to struggle a little bit more on a track like Zandvoort, as there are a lot of big corners here. As we do go over the curb as well, so we need to focus ourselves a little bit there. We did lose a little time to Guan Yu Zhou, but I'm not too worried because they're all going to slow each other down. I think Guan Yu Zhou will definitely be slowed down because Pierre Gasly is actually starting. He's actually started on the hard. So yeah, we've gained a couple of positions going on to lap 3 now, which is amazing. It really is. P14. So we've gained about 7 positions in the first 3 laps, which is an amazing start, as Pierre Gasly and Guan Yu Zhou are now fighting. Gasly trying to keep Zhou behind, so I think Gasly's trying to protect Ocon a little bit here as we have a much better corner on one of my favourite corners in the entire F1 game, as we now go side by side with Guan Yu Zhou in the Alfa Romeo here. Who's going to win out into this corner? And it is Guan Yu Zhou. He does have the apex into that corner, so there was no real way no tangible way we're going to overtake him there, as we do dive a little bit there, a little bit of contact. Hopefully we didn't cause a little any damage to his car. We've got no FIA warning, so I doubt we caused any damage at all. And now we set our sights to our engine compatriots, the Alpines on the Renault engine, just like us. I feel like we could definitely get past these, and then after that is Bottas, who I think we might struggle a little bit with, because when Bottas is having a good race, he can actually battle us really well. But after that, yeah, it's on to the points. I think Bottas is actually in the points, so yeah, our pace seems to be either at the points or just outside the points, like if we're starting from last place, which is a really good sign for us, and it also proves my point about the R&D not being entirely accurate. Like, it's the only reason we're bottom is because of our chassis and durability being so far behind everybody else, unfortunately. So I am hoping the new regulations, when they come later this season, you know, they're going to be down to chassis and durability, because then we can properly focus on that. But yeah, we do have a very similar overtake to what we did to Guan Yu Zhou right there, on Pierre Gasly, but he slowed us down quite a lot. And so yeah, going on to lap 9 now, lap 10, sorry, Ocon has pulled to about 5 seconds, so I want him to pit now. And Guan Yu Zhou really being aggressive there. We've actually changed our strategy to the mediums, because I feel like we still need the pace. You know, I was thinking, at first I was thinking, yeah, maybe we'd get to about P10, P9, and then go on the hard tyres and just defend and maybe outpace people towards the end. But no, like, we're going to need to be a bit more aggressive with our strategy. And so we come into the pits to get onto those medium tyres, and it seems as though we're actually the only one pitting. We're pitting earlier than anyone, which is crazy, because, like, I'm not even doing any undercut strategy compared to my own or anything, and there was a late turn in. I wasn't fully focused on the pit stop at the time, and obviously we paid for it. But essentially, I'm really surprised that nobody pitted in this lap, because we actually followed what our original strategy was this time. We didn't put a lap earlier or anything, so maybe a lot of good will come out of this. I certainly hope so, because we really, like, I want to at least get a point, you know, because, like, yeah, that it was such a stupid mistake in Q1, honestly. I really should have done some more practice laps. I obviously should avoid the curbs at all costs, but I didn't think it was going to like catch me like that. But anyway, after one lap, some cars come into pit and we gain just the 3 positions, so P19, but we're ahead of Gasly and we're ahead of Guan Yu Zhou, people who we already had some battles with prior to our pit, so we've jumped them, which is good. And Esteban Ocon is out of the session. He's the man who caused the yellow flag that you may have seen if you were paying attention to the screen. So Esteban Ocon, probably an engine failure. I don't know if I'll ever turn those on for myself, but something I do forget to turn on all the time is red flags. So don't worry guys, I have them turned on for the next episode. So we might even get a red flag next episode, who knows? Wouldn't that be fun? But yes, few people coming to the pits on the next lap, including Teo, our teammate, who hasn't done good. He seems to be second to last in terms of everybody here. And Hulkenberg's actually, well, he did jump Hulkenberg in the pits initially, but I think he's actually been jumped by, yeah, if you saw the mini-map, he's even been jumped by Sonoda, so Pourchaire's now last. So the pit crew's had a bit of a howler there, but we've jumped up to P13. Again, I really want to try and get our F2 driver as far as possible, but a lot of our glory with the F2 driver will come down to next season. But now we're going to gain 2 more positions as Nick DeFries and Logan Sargent. Those guys went 13 laps on the softs. Absolutely crazy strategy. I doubt it worked out. Well, it obviously hasn't worked out for them because they're not going to get any points, but who knows. Anyway, we're now P11 as Valtteri Bottas has just come out the pits on hard tyres, and he was only 3 seconds ahead of us, but he's pushed it to 6 seconds by lap 21. So we're going to have to give up on it. Looks like we're not going to get any points, but there's a safety car! Just as I was accepting that, you know what, we had an insane recovery drive, but points just wasn't going to be our day. No, a safety car may have come to save the day. And I think it was down to Charles Leclerc. As you can see, he's fallen all the way to P10. Was it an engine failure or was it a mechanical failure, like a temporary one? He's still in the race, so maybe it was a bit of a collision. I doubt it though, because he doesn't come into pit neither. So it must have been like maybe he had a temporary engine failure or something. Or maybe he was close to crashing and had to brake hard and, you know, was blocking some other drivers. I don't know what happened. I really should have looked at the replay, but we never got to catch the safety car because some cars were just so far ahead around this track. It was insane. But the safety car is coming in this lap while the queue's like 10 seconds ahead of us. So I think we might still be able to catch the queue because I think they're just round this corner. So that's a really good sign and a little bit of luck on our part. But yeah, quite strange that the safety car's in this lap. It might be a game thing, like maybe you can't end the race with a safety car in the game as opposed to real life. But we seem to be the only person who's actually managed to catch up to the safety car. So it's all down to these last 2 laps. Can we jump Charles Leclerc here? As we go into turn 1 and we dive down the inside. This is for points. This is for points, and we actually managed to gain a point here. And perhaps we can even set our sights on Valtteri Bottas. He's going to be slowed down quite a bit through here by the other cars, and obviously we can catch up a little bit there. And I want to put Bottas between me and Leclerc, because Leclerc's in that Ferrari. There's no way we're going to be able to defend against that, as we're now side by side with Valtteri Bottas. Can we finally win round this corner? In a corner that we've lost so many battles with, we do win. We are over Valtteri Bottas, so, like, just as I gave up on the possibility of a point, we can now perhaps get 2 points. And Oscar Piastri's there in front of us. Maybe we can chase Oscar Piastri. I don't know. I don't want to bite off any more than I can chew, as Piastri is now gaining on us, or gaining away from us. So I think this is where we're going to have to settle, as Valtteri Bottas is all up the back of us here. Of course, he is in the faster car. I'm pretty sure the Ferrari is the most powerful engine on the grid. So that both cars behind us have that engine, the Ferrari engine. Valtteri Bottas is obviously going to be on better tyres now, as we now go on to the final lap. Can we keep these 2 points Obviously, it's not as much as we would have wanted, but it's probably more than we could ask for. I did say in the last episode our luck was going to run out sooner or later, and it did. But the luck has come back. The safety car, we just got to thank Leclerc for this opportunity, man. As we're basically using all our ERS to try and gain as much time on Bottas as possible, as we now go just half a second ahead, but he's now gaining so much time on us. It's a tug of war, essentially. There's no way we're going to catch Piastri. So again, begrudgingly, P9, we just can't seem to get away from 9th position, but it's better than below 10th, you know, because it still does get us points. And yeah, I think we might actually get it, as we've just kept ERS on this whole time, as we now go into the final few corners back onto the main straight. Here we go. Valtteri Bottas is quicker than us round these corners, of course, so we got to be very worried, but no, he makes the move too late as we cross the line in P9. We actually managed to get points. What a superb recovery drive that was. But did we deserve points after what happened in Q1? No, but we'll take the luck where we can get it.
Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, what a race. At the end of the day, it is all about raw pace, and our winner had it in spades today.
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Well, it is George Russell who wins this Grand Prix, with both Red Bull drivers on the podium alongside him. A superb recovery drive from ourselves to get up to P11, and we just got so much good luck in those last few laps to catch up to Bottas and managed to get not only 1 point but 2 points. Honestly, I am so happy with that. For once, I'm actually happy to see P9, and I'm quite intrigued to see what will happen in the next race in Monza, because I'm definitely going to I already have a pretty good Monza setup, as I've used in multiplayer, so I'm quite looking forward to that. But yeah, to get from P21 to P11 was already impressive enough, but to get to P9, it is impressive, but we definitely were lucky to get that. So I'm not going to take that for granted. We really need to make sure that we do not make any mistakes like that in qualifying ever again. But we do manage to keep P5. Those 2 points do help us in our fight with McLaren and Aston Martin. So yeah, pretty good. I'll take it. Next episode is Monza. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of F1 23 My Team Career Mode. If you guys liked it, be sure to hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. Comment, share and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Until next time, peace.